Until a human soldier stepped in, the alien woman's baby wouldn't stop crying, and everything changed. Staff Sergeant Maria Chen looked up from her datapad, her coffee cup halfway to her lips. The noise was unlike anything she had heard before, high-pitched, wavering, and somehow deeply wrong. Not wrong in a dangerous way, but wrong in a way that made her heart clench with unexpected sympathy. Around her, the other species' representatives in the cafeteria reacted very differently. A tall Kithran diplomat dropped his tray with a clatter, his crystalline hands flying to the sides of his angular head. His skin, usually a calm blue, flashed orange with distress. Two Draken traders near the window scrambled away from the sound, their scales rippling with discomfort. "What is that noise?" someone shouted. Maria stood up, her human ears processing the sound differently than the others. Yes, it was unpleasant. Yes, it made her teeth ache slightly, but more than anything, it sounded like crying, a baby crying. She moved toward the source of the commotion while everyone else moved away. The corridor leading to the civilian quarters was in chaos. Aliens of various species were evacuating quickly, some covering their auditory organs, others practically running. Station security stood at a safe distance, their weapons lowered but their body language tense. At the center of it all stood a Valian woman. Maria had seen Valians before during the peace negotiations. They were beautiful in their own way, tall and graceful, with smooth exoskeletons that shimmered like mother of pearl. Their movements were precise and elegant. But this Valian woman looked anything but elegant right now. She was hunched over something in her arms, her whole body trembling. Her antennae drooped low against her head, a sign of extreme distress that Maria had learned about during cultural briefings. In her arms, wrapped in a silvery cloth, was a small larvae, a Valian infant, and the infant was screaming. "Ma'am, you need to step back," one of the security officers called to Maria. He was Quenter with 4 arms and spotted green skin. Valian young produce sonic frequencies that can damage most species' hearing. "Please," she said in heavily accented standard Galactic. "Please help. My SA China won't stop. I don't know what's wrong." Temperature regulation, nutrient formula, pheromone spray, sound cancellation. Nothing works. SA China just cries and cries. The medical bay sent us away. They said Valian young are my responsibility. She had seen this before, not here, not in space, but back on Earth. New mothers left to struggle alone because everyone assumed they should automatically know what to do. "What's your name?" Maria asked. "S.A. Tria." "May I come closer?" "We're pretty good with crying babies." Up close, she could see the tiny creature, about the size of a human newborn with translucent skin and tiny waving appendages. Its mouth was open, showing no teeth, just a soft opening designed for liquid nutrition. "May I hold S.A. China?" Maria asked. S.A. Tria stared at her as if she'd suggested flying into a star. "Hold, you mean physically?" "We have carriers and support devices. Physical holding it's not efficient." How many times had simple human touch worked when nothing else did? "Trust me," Maria said softly. "Please." The baby was lighter than Maria expected and warmer than human babies. She cradled the larvae carefully, supporting its head the way she'd learned years ago. Then she did what came naturally. She began to rock, slow, gentle movements, side to side. She held the baby close to her chest, letting it feel her heartbeat. And she started to hum. It was an old song, something her grandmother used to sing. Maria didn't even remember the words anymore, just the melody. Low and soothing, the crying faltered. S.A. Tria gasped. Maria kept rocking, kept humming. She adjusted her hold slightly, tucking the larvae more securely against her warmth. The baby's tiny appendages curled inward, grasping at her uniform. The crying stopped. Complete silence fell over the corridor. Even the security officers stared in disbelief. The larvae made a small, soft sound, not a cry, but something almost like a purr. Its translucent skin began to glow faintly with a peaceful blue light. "How?" S.A. Tria whispered. "How did you do that?" "That technology could provide better care." "Keep her close to your body. Your heartbeat will help her feel safe." "We haven't for generations." An elderly Kithran diplomat stepped forward from the crowd. His crystalline skin was a deep, thoughtful purple. "Remarkable," he said quietly. "Simply remarkable. It's something we've forgotten, something we lost." "About care." "I can do that." The footage showed her holding the Valian larvae, rocking gently while Asatria watched with amazement. The headlines scrolled across the bottom in standard Galactic. Human soldier accomplishes impossible feat, calms distressed Valian infant. Just great. At ease, Chen, Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. So, you're famous. The other half thinks you're some kind of spy, using emotional manipulation tactics. I also know that Ambassador Veltoth has requested you be assigned as a cultural liaison for the duration of the peace talks. He wants you to teach other alien parents about human childcare methods. Chen, these negotiations are delicate. Multiple species are trying to work together for the first time in decades. What you did yesterday, it opened a door, maybe an important one. You showed them that maybe humans have something valuable to offer. Rodriguez put a hand on Maria's shoulder. I'm approving the request. You'll continue your regular duties, but you're also authorized to conduct these baby classes, or whatever Veltoth has in mind. Asatria's quarters were small but comfortable, decorated with the crystalline art typical of Valian culture. When Maria arrived, she found Asatria pacing nervously, the larvae bundled in her arms. Asachina wasn't screaming like yesterday, but she was fussing, small, unhappy sounds that were clearly distressing her mother. Show me how you're holding her, Maria said gently. Asatria demonstrated, and Maria immediately saw the problem. The Valian woman was holding the baby correctly but stiffly, as if afraid she might break something. You're too tense, Maria said. Babies can feel that. Here, relax your arms a bit, let yourself sway. It mimics the movement babies feel before they're born. It's comforting. Just a low, steady sound. Asatria looked up, her compound eyes shimmering. On my world, we're taught that physical care is primitive, that advanced species use technology for everything, but this feels right. Natural. Asatria called for entry, and 2 aliens stepped inside, a Draken male with deep red scales and a Quenter female with nervous-looking spotted skin. We heard about what happened, the Draken said hesitantly. We have young too. They struggle. We struggle. Could you? Could the human teach us as well? Maria found herself in one of the station's community rooms with 8 alien parents and their children. Ambassador Veltoth stood quietly in the corner, observing. Maria felt nervous. These weren't human babies. They had different biology, different needs. But she focused on what was universal. Every child needs 3 things, she began. They need to feel safe, they need to feel loved, and they need to know someone is paying attention to them. See how he keeps trying to make eye contact? That's his way of asking for connection. Look back at him. Let him know you see him. Now, physical touch is important for most species, Maria continued. It regulates body temperature, heart rate, and stress levels. For humans, we do something called skin-to-skin contact. She taught them about gentle patting, rocking rhythms, and the power of simple songs. A Kithran mother spoke up, her voice uncertain. But our physicians say that touch isn't necessary, that it creates dependency. That's different. Attachment is healthy. It's how children learn to trust the world around them. Every human culture does this, she explained. We carry our babies on our backs, our fronts, our hips. We sing to them, talk to them, play with them, not because we're primitive, but because it works. But how do we know what they need? My daughter cries, and I try everything, but nothing helps. She showed them how to recognize hunger cries versus tired cries versus lonely cries. She taught them about the importance of routine, of gentle transitions, of simply being present. By the end, every child in the room was calm. Some were sleeping, others playing quietly. The parents looked exhausted but hopeful. This is just the beginning, Maria said. Being a parent is the hardest job in any galaxy, but you don't have to do it alone and you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to try. You did well, Staff Sergeant Chen, he said quietly. They did well, Maria corrected. They just needed permission to trust their instincts. There are those who believe humanity is too emotional, too primitive to be part of our alliance. They'll see this as proof. Then he nodded slowly. Indeed, I'll arrange more sessions, but be careful, Maria Chen. Not everyone wants to remember what we've forgotten. 3 days after the first parenting session, Ambassador Veltoth invited Maria to his private quarters. The elderly Kithran's rooms were filled with strange objects, ancient artifacts that looked out of place among the station's modern technology. Maria accepted a cup of warm beverage that tasted like honey and starlight. You wanted to speak with me, Ambassador. I want to show you something, Staff Sergeant Chen, something very few people know about. He inserted the crystal into a holographic projector. This is from my homeworld, recorded over 3,000 years ago. But these Kithrin looked different from the ones Maria knew. They were touching each other, holding hands, embracing, carrying small children in their arms. Is this real? Maria asked, leaning forward. Very real. Veltoth's voice was heavy with sadness. This is how my people lived before the Great Advancement. We touched. We held our young. We sang to them just as you described humans doing. What happened? She asked quietly. Progress, Veltoth said bitterly. Or what we called progress. Our scientists determined that physical contact was inefficient. They said technology could provide better care, perfect temperature control, precise nutrition, optimal stimulation. They said emotion made us weak. We built machines to raise our children. We convinced ourselves we were becoming more advanced, more evolved. Our children struggled with something our doctors called attachment disorder. We became cold, distant. We told ourselves it was the price of advancement. The Valians, the Drakons, the Quenter, even the aggressive Zenth had once practiced physical caregiving. All had abandoned it in the name of efficiency and progress. You're not the only one, Maria realized. All the advanced species did this. And we've been paying the price for centuries. Veltoth sat down heavily. Depression, anxiety, social isolation, they've become epidemics across multiple worlds. We have technology that can cure almost any disease, but we can't fix the emptiness inside us. That's why you wanted me to teach them, she said. You want them to remember. Our doctors say there's nothing physically wrong with him, but, the ambassador's voice broke. He's empty, Maria. My grandson is empty inside. For the first time in his life, I held my grandson in my arms. Veltoth's voice shook. He cried, not from pain, but from relief, as if he'd been waiting his whole life for someone to just hold him. There are many who benefit from the current system. Technology companies that sell childcare devices. Efficiency experts whose entire philosophy depends on physical contact being unnecessary. Politicians who built their careers on the idea that emotional detachment makes us strong. He sees your teachings as a threat. Meanwhile, in a secure conference room across the station, Commander Zelker stood before a holographic display showing footage of Maria's parenting classes. Look at them, he said to the 5 other representatives gathered around the table. Regressing. Becoming primitive again, all because of one human's emotional manipulation. Constant physical attention would make anyone happy, but happiness isn't strength. Comfort isn't advancement. We became the dominant species in this galaxy by eliminating these weaknesses. The human is teaching them to prioritize emotion over logic, to value feelings over efficiency. If this continues, we'll undo millennia of progress. Zelker pulled up statistical data. Already, 17% of the station's alien parents have attended Chen's sessions. They're spending less time working, less time on productive activities, more time on bonding. We need rational thinking, not emotionally compromised delegates distracted by their offspring. I propose we present evidence that humans are too emotionally unstable for galactic partnership. Their obsession with physical contact, their inability to separate emotion from logic, these are weaknesses we cannot afford. Based on childcare methods, we need partners we can trust to think logically. The children who have learned these human methods are showing improved cognitive function, better social skills, enhanced problem-solving abilities. Perhaps emotion and logic aren't as opposed as we think. Let the full council decide if humanity's gifts are truly beneficial or if they're a threat to everything we've built. In 2 days, humanity will face judgment. Maria knew nothing of this as she prepared for her next parenting session. The community room was packed now, 20 parents with their children, all eager to learn. S.H. Rhea helped her set up cushions on the floor. You look tired, the Valian said with concern. Just thinking, Maria replied, about how strange this all is. A week ago I was just a soldier, now I'm teaching aliens how to be parents. That's much more important than being a soldier. The boy's eyes were still uncertain, but there was a spark there now. A tiny flame of life that hadn't existed before. Maria smiled. Maybe change was possible after all. She didn't see the security camera recording everything. She didn't know that every word she spoke was being analyzed by Zelker's team, twisted into evidence of human manipulation. The storm was coming. But for now, in this room full of parents and children learning to connect, there was only warmth, laughter, and hope. Maria watched as S.A. Tria's baby S.A. China crawled across soft mats toward a young Draken hatchling. The two babies made happy sounds at each other, completely different sounds from completely different species, but both clearly expressing joy. Their parents sat nearby, talking quietly and sharing experiences. Last week, Tothran wouldn't even look at other children, the Draken father said proudly. Now he tries to play with everyone. The doctor said Valian larvae don't socialize until age 3, but she's already reaching for others. The boy actually giggled as he tried to match his grandfather's rhythm. Maria felt warmth spread through her chest. This was working, really working. Maria, a Quenter mother approached nervously. Can you help me? Rinsha keeps pulling away when I try to hold her. Try this instead, Maria suggested. Move slowly, let her see you coming, talk to her first so she knows what you're doing, give her time to agree. Mama wants to hold you. I never knew it could be this simple. Parents were learning not just how to comfort their children, but how to truly see them, how to notice small signals, how to respond with patience instead of frustration. But outside this peaceful room, storm clouds were gathering. Commander Zelker stood before the Treaty Council's Security Committee, his presentation displayed on massive screens behind him. These images show the progression of human cultural infiltration over the past 2 weeks, he said, his voice cold and precise. He showed footage of the parenting sessions, highlighting moments he'd carefully selected. Here, you see Staff Sergeant Chen instructing alien parents to abandon proven childcare protocols. Here, she encourages physical dependency in children who should be learning independence. And here, he paused dramatically, you see her teaching our children human songs, human games, human values. What's the threat? They're using our children to gain influence over delegates during critical treaty negotiations. Medical bay visits for child-related concerns have decreased by 40%, which sounds positive until you realize parents are now seeking human advice instead of our trained physicians. Or perhaps, another delegate suggested, the children simply need less medical care. Because they're happier, Zelker's skin flashed orange. Happiness is not the goal of an advanced society. Progress is, strength is, logic is. These humans are pulling us backward into primitive emotional thinking. This is not diplomacy. This is manipulation of the most dangerous kind, manipulation that targets our most vulnerable citizens and our deepest instincts. Let them decide if humanity's contributions are worthy of alliance membership, or if they reveal dangerous emotional instability that makes humans unsuitable partners. 3 days from now, the full council will hear your evidence and make a decision. Her communicator chimed, a video call from Earth. Her sister's face appeared on the screen and Maria's smile faded immediately. Sarah looked terrible, dark circles under her eyes, hair uncombed, still in a bathrobe at 2 in the afternoon. Sarah. What's wrong? Sarah, no, you're not terrible, you're exhausted. Where's Tom? You're helping everyone except your own family. Sarah, listen to me. What you're feeling, that exhaustion, that doubt, every parent in the galaxy feels it. Human, alien, doesn't matter. Being a parent is the hardest thing anyone can do. And you want to know a secret? Half of what I teach, I learned from watching you struggle with Marcus. The night I stayed over and you couldn't get him to sleep, you tried 15 different things before you finally just sat down and cried with him. And that's when he calmed down, because he felt your real emotion. That's the most important lesson any parent can teach, that feelings are real and valid. We're all making this up as we go, Sarah. The only difference is some of us pretend we know what we're doing. By the end, Sarah looked a little less broken. Thank you, Sarah whispered. I needed this. But she was also changing things, challenging ancient systems, making powerful enemies. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was Ambassador Veltoth. Maria, I need you to come to my office immediately. The Council has called an emergency session. They're questioning humanity's suitability for the Alliance. He's calling your parenting classes emotional manipulation and cultural contamination. The full council will vote in 3 days. What does that mean? And every parent who trusted you will be forced to go back to the old ways. Handprints from a dozen different species. Then I guess, she said softly, it's time to fight for what matters. Circular and tall, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform, it could hold representatives from 30 different species. Today, every seat was filled. Maria stood on the central platform, her dress uniform pressed and perfect, her hands clasped behind her back. She'd been a soldier for 8 years. She'd faced dangerous situations, difficult missions, hostile environments. But standing here with hundreds of alien eyes watching her, she'd never felt so exposed. Commander Zelker stood across from her, his crystalline body radiating confidence. Between them sat the council chair, an ancient Quenter named Vormal who had overseen treaties for 50 years. "This emergency session will now begin," Vormal announced. "Commander Zelker has brought serious concerns about human participation in our alliance. Commander, you may present your case." "Honored council members, I come before you today not out of prejudice, but out of concern for our collective future. 2 weeks ago, a human soldier intervened in a private family matter involving a distressed Valian infant. What appeared to be a kind gesture was actually the first step in a calculated campaign of emotional manipulation." Maria felt her jaw tighten, but Ambassador Veltoth had coached her. "Stay calm, stay silent, wait for your turn." "Since that day," Zelker continued, "this human has conducted regular sessions teaching alien parents to abandon proven childcare methods in favor of primitive physical contact. She has encouraged emotional dependency, discouraged logical thinking, and systematically undermined the medical and scientific communities of multiple species. Parents are spending excessive time on bonding instead of productive work. Children are becoming emotionally demanding instead of self-sufficient. This is not progress, it's regression. But the real danger is this: humans are using our children to influence us. They target our most vulnerable citizens, create emotional bonds, and make us dependent on their approval and methods. This is manipulation at its most insidious. Humans claim to value emotion and connection, but what they really value is control. They want us to become like them, weak, emotional, unstable. They want to drag us down to their primitive level. I ask you, council members, is this the partner we want? A species so controlled by emotion that they cannot separate personal feelings from professional duty. So primitive that they believe physical contact is more important than scientific advancement. I recommend humanity be denied alliance membership until they can prove they respect our cultures and methods, instead of trying to replace them with their own. That wasn't just a criticism, it was a complete misrepresentation of everything she'd tried to do. "Staff Sergeant Chen," Vormal said, "you may respond." "Honored council members, I'm not a politician or a diplomat. I'm just a soldier who saw a baby crying and tried to help. We do value connection. We do believe that sometimes a hug is more important than efficiency." His eyes were empty. Today he laughs, he runs, he hugs his grandfather. Is that weakness or is that healing? Her mother Asatria learned that holding her baby wasn't primitive. It was necessary. Medical emergencies have decreased. Families are stronger. Is that really a bad thing? Every species in this room once practiced physical caregiving. Your own historical records prove it. You didn't become advanced by giving it up. You became lonely. But here's what logic tells me. Children need love. Parents need connection. Families need time together. These aren't human values, they're universal values. And if your civilization forgot them in the name of progress, then maybe your civilization needs to remember. The floor recognizes Asatria of Valia. I followed all the protocols, used all the right technology, did everything the experts said. But Asachina cried and cried, and I didn't know why. She showed me that my instinct to hold my baby wasn't wrong. It was exactly right. She gave me permission to be a mother, not just a caregiver. They spoke of children who slept better, played more, learned faster. They spoke of their own relief at being allowed to show affection. They spoke of healing they didn't know they needed. Finally, Ambassador Veltoth rose. I have served this council for 40 years. I have negotiated treaties, resolved conflicts, built bridges between species. But I have never done anything as important as what I'm about to do now. A small Kithran child took it, Tethrin walking into the council chamber with wide eyes. "This is my grandson," Veltoth said simply. 2 weeks ago, I had never held him. In my entire life, I had never physically embraced any child. We Kithrin believed it made us stronger. It was shocking, revolutionary, beautiful. "Tell them, Tethrin," Veltoth said softly. "Tell them how you feel." "It makes us strong." Session adjourned. "Evacuate immediately." Maria ran towards Sector 7, following the stream of people evacuating in the opposite direction. "Chen, where are you going?" Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through her communicator. "All personnel are ordered to evacuation points." "You can't get through." She reached an observation window that looked into one of the sealed safe zones. Her blood ran cold. 30 children from different species were huddled in groups, separated from their parents by the emergency barriers. A few adult aliens were with them, maintenance workers and cleaning staff who'd been caught in the wrong place, but they looked helpless, overwhelmed by the crying, screaming children. A young Valian larvae was producing sonic screams that made the others cry harder. A Draken hatchling was scratching desperately at the bulkhead, trying to reach his father on the other side. Kithrin children were frozen in place, their crystalline bodies flashing with stress colors. "Oh no," Maria whispered. Her communicator buzzed. It was Ambassador Veltoth. "Maria, the life support systems in the sealed zones are failing. The children's stress responses are overwhelming the biological sensors. If we can't calm them, the systems will shut down completely to protect themselves." Children who just wanted their parents. She touched her communicator. "Rodriguez, I need to get into that safe zone, now." "What about the ventilation shafts? Maintenance access?" "Send me the coordinates." 5 minutes later, Maria squeezed through a narrow ventilation shaft, her uniform scraping against metal. Behind her came voices, other human personnel who'd volunteered to help. Private Jackson, a young man from Texas. Corporal Kim, a woman who had 3 younger siblings back on Earth. Lieutenant Morrison, who used to work at a daycare before joining the military. They dropped into the safe zone one by one, landing on the upper walkway. Below them, the chaos continued. "All right," Maria said quickly. "We split up. Each of us takes a group. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just get them calm enough so the life support can stabilize." These were children who'd been in Maria's classes who knew humans, but they were also terrified children in an emergency. Maria went straight for the Valian larvae producing the sonic screams. "Hey, sweetie," she said softly, kneeling down. "I know you're scared. I know you want your mama, but she's right outside and she needs you to be brave for just a little while. In and out, in and out. Come on, sing with me. Go. Tell them it's going to be okay." Beside him, a young Kithrin boy, his nephew Zethrin, pressed his small hands against the glass. "Why can't we go help them?" the child asked. "The bulkheads won't open," Zelker said stiffly. "But the humans got in. Why aren't more grown-ups helping?" He watched through the window as Maria moved from child to child, offering comfort, speaking softly, using touch and voice and simple presence to ease fear. It was everything he'd argued against, everything he'd called primitive and weak, and it was working. S.A. Tria stood at another window, tears streaming down her face. She could see S.A. China in Maria's arms, calm now, peaceful. Other parents watched their children begin to settle, to play, to feel safe again despite the emergency. "The life support is stabilizing," one of the technicians announced. "Stress readings are dropping across all sectors. We're opening bulkheads in sequence. Stand by." The bulkheads began to rise with a grinding sound. Parents rushed in immediately, gathering their children into their arms. Maria watched as Kithrin adults, who 2 weeks ago would never have embraced their young, hugged their children tightly. Draken fathers scooped up their hatchlings. Quenter mothers pressed their 4-armed children close. They'd learned, they'd remembered. S.A. Tria reached Maria and took S.A. China gently. "Thank you, again and always, thank you." 2 weeks ago, no, I wouldn't have known how. S.A. Tria's compound eyes shimmered. "But because of you, now I do." Instead, he said quietly, "My nephew asked me why more adults didn't help the children, why only humans came. We couldn't fit through the access shaft, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is, we didn't know how to help, we've forgotten how to comfort fear. No one held me. I was told that fear was weakness, that I needed to overcome it alone. So I did. I buried it so deep that I forgot it was there. Watching them be scared and then be comforted, I remembered. And I realized what we've done to ourselves, what we've done to generations of children. I've spent my entire career fighting against everything you represent. I called you primitive, weak, dangerous. I was wrong about you, about humans, about what strength really means. Thank you. That cannot be undone. I've known him for 30 years, and I've never seen him admit he was wrong. Tomorrow, we face the final judgment. And whatever happens, you should know, you've already won the most important victory. Everything else is just politics. They had all come to hear humanity's fate. We have heard testimony from both sides, Vormel began, his forearms spread wide. We have seen evidence of human methods. We have witnessed their actions during yesterday's emergency. Now the Council must decide. Will humanity join our alliance as full partners? Everyone remembered his passionate speech against humanity just 2 days ago. He walked slowly to the central platform, his crystalline body reflecting the chamber lights. I stand before you a changed person, he said quietly. 2 days ago, I called humans primitive. I said their emotions made them weak. I presented evidence that their ways were dangerous to our civilization. Yesterday, I watched humans risk their own safety to comfort terrified children, children whose own people couldn't help them. Not because we weren't physically present, but because we had forgotten how. These humans didn't have advanced technology. They didn't have specialized training. They had something simpler and more powerful. They knew how to make children feel safe. For 3,000 years, we've measured advancement by our technology, our logic, our efficiency. But what have we gained? Our children grow up empty. Our families are disconnected. We've conquered space but lost ourselves. Humans aren't primitive. They're wise enough to remember what we forgot. They're strong enough to be gentle. They're advanced enough to know that progress without compassion is just emptiness. Not despite their emotions, but because of them. We don't need partners who think exactly like us. We need partners who can teach us what we've lost. I am the oldest member of this council. I have lived through wars, treaties, technological revolutions. But the most important revolution I've witnessed happened 2 weeks ago when a human soldier picked up a crying baby. Before Maria came, he was alive but not living. Now he laughs, he plays, he feels. One human changed my grandson's entire future in a matter of days. Imagine what humanity could do for all of us if given the chance. A few still opposed, citing concerns about cultural contamination. But the tone had shifted dramatically from 2 days ago. Finally, Vormel called for the vote. All in favor of granting humanity full alliance membership. The voting continued for what felt like hours but was only minutes. When the final count appeared, Vormel announced, by a vote of 23-7, humanity is accepted as a full member of the Galactic Alliance. Satria grabbed Maria's hand and squeezed. Other parents cheered. Tethrin jumped up and down excitedly, but Vormel wasn't finished. Furthermore, he continued, the Council has approved an unprecedented measure. We hereby establish the Galactic Family Sciences Initiative, dedicated to researching and sharing childcare practices across all member species. Her mission, to help all our species remember what we've forgotten. Looks like you're getting a promotion. 6 months later, Maria stood in the same community center where she'd held her first parenting class, but it looked completely different now. The room had been expanded, redesigned. Soft play areas for different species occupied every corner. Alien parents sat in circles, sharing stories and techniques. Human volunteers worked alongside Kithrin educators, Valian specialists, and Draken caregivers. On the walls hung drawings from children across the galaxy. Not just from Station Unity, but from a dozen worlds. Maria's simple classes had sparked a movement. Maria, Satria called out, waving. She walked over with China, who was now crawling confidently and babbling in both Valian clicks and human-sounding coos. Have you seen the latest reports? Birth rates are increasing on 17 worlds. The medical journals are calling it the Connection Renaissance. I just reminded people of what they already knew deep down. They did the rest themselves. Her sister looked completely different from 6 months ago, rested, happy, confident. Hey, space sister, Sarah said cheerfully. Baby Marcus appeared in the frame, giggling and grabbing at the camera. Marcus wanted to say hi to Aunt Maria. And guess what? I joined a parents' group at the community center. We meet twice a week, share techniques, support each other. It's amazing. Sarah paused. You know what the group leader said? She said the whole program was inspired by some human soldier teaching aliens how to be parents in space. Small galaxy, huh? That asking for help isn't weakness. Now he volunteered here twice a week. Ambassador Veltoth sat in a reading corner. Tethrin cuddled against him as he read a story. The boy's eyes were bright and full of wonder. A young Draken father nervously approached Maria. Ambassador Chen, I'm new here. My hatchling won't sleep. I've tried everything the doctors suggested, but nothing works. I heard you might know what to do. The movement can be very soothing. Now she was an ambassador, a teacher, a bridge between worlds. But more importantly, she'd helped spark something beautiful, a galaxy-wide remembering of what truly mattered. Technology was wonderful, logic was important, efficiency had its place. But nothing in the universe was more powerful than a parent who knew how to comfort their child. Nothing was more advanced than choosing love over convenience. Nothing was more civilized than admitting you needed help. Later that evening, as Maria prepared to leave, she passed by the main window overlooking space. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at the station now. Species that had barely trusted each other 6 months ago now worked together, learned together, grew together. All because of children, because of parents willing to try something new. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act was the simplest one, reaching out and holding someone who needed to be held. S.A. Tria appeared beside her, S.A. China sleeping peacefully in her arms. Do you ever think about that first day, when S.A. China wouldn't stop crying? That took real courage. She's 60 years old, and she's finally learning to hug her children. And everything changed. Remembered what they'd always been meant to be. The galaxy was a big place, full of different species, different cultures, different ways of thinking. But some things were universal, and love, especially the love between parent and child, was the most universal thing of all.